Many Canadians remember the protests surrounding the Coastal GasLink Pipelines project in 2020, which sparked blockades across the country as Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs protested the project. My guest today was an elected chief of the Wet'suwet'en First Nation for 6 years. She currently is an elected council member for that nation. Karen Ogen-Toews is now the CEO of the First Nations LNG Alliance, a society of First Nations in support of responsible liquefied natural gas development in BC. Thanks so much for joining us today, Karen.
Thank you for having me.
First Nations LNG Alliance prides itself on being in support of LNG development with a priority on the environment. Is that achievable?
The whole notion of why the First Nations LNG Alliance has started was because at the time during my term, people would hear the word pipeline and they'd automatically think of in the 90s when there was commercials on TV, they'd see the devastation of oil spills, what it was doing to the environment. And so people sort of, when they heard the word pipeline, it automatically shifted to oil. So we had to really find educational information in relation to LNG, right from where it was being extracted to where it will be sent to.
The $6.6 billion pipeline is designed to carry natural gas from northeastern BC to $40 billion LNG terminal on the province's north coast to export into Asia. You see this as an opportunity for your people as opposed to a liability. Explain that for me.
Most people don't realize that pipelines have been around for centuries and that there are LNG lines in the ground where Aboriginal people have had absolutely no consultation, no accommodation. So no benefits have come back to the Indigenous people. So you have on one hand, industry and government extracting resources, whether it be forestry, mining, LNG, whatever. There should be no reason why Indigenous people live in poverty. We need to balance the scale for fairness. If this is our unceded territories, then we should be able to benefit, and our people shouldn't have to live in poverty and have poor housing, poor education, poor health.
And Karen, what about the concerns of the hereditary chiefs? Lack of land title, lack of consultation, safety of the communities, and according to them, that there is some land that just should not be touched.
Well, there's a couple of things that you can take from that. We have one LNG line that's already going throughout the territory. That was put in the 1950s. You know, all the towns and cities across the northern BC have LNG lines going through them. That's how they heat their homes. So when you think about it, there's pipelines throughout this territory that most nations don't even know about. My perspective is I support that whole notion of the UN Declaration. I support rights and title because that's the way forward for our people. If we have a solid governing system as a nation and the elected and the hereditary work together, we would be such a powerhouse. I acknowledge that the blockades have put the Wet'suwet'en people on the map. And I really believe that if our system, our traditional system and our elected system were to ever come together and work together as one so that our people and land could be taken care of, that would be such a powerhouse. And that's what I would like to see. That's what I envision for our people, is that we work together so that our people have a better quality of life.
Karen Ogen-Toews, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.